The first day I showed up, came in, say hi to everybody. They had the office painted, new furniture and everything in it. I sat down at that desk and I was like, what you gonna do now?
Yes, it's that moment, right?
Yeah, it's that moment. It's like that Richard Pryor skit. What you gonna do now? And what I told myself then, I said, look, man, let's just do what you always do. Work hard, right? Stay committed to yourself. And one of the things in this business, right? Stay true to your word. Work hard and stay true to your word.
Welcome, Kicking Ass and Taking Names, the Business Owners Empowerment Podcast. I'm your host, Marlon Griffith Esquire. Join us on this podcast journey as we help you break free from the grind and get your business to work for you. We will delve into impactful conversation with business owners, corporate leaders, professional service providers, and industry innovators that will provide you with insights and actionable strategies that will transform your entrepreneurial path, boost your success, and put you in control of your business journey so you can kick ass and take names. All right, welcome to my next episode of Kicking Ass and Taking Names. Well, this story is not too unfamiliar. You know, I go after quality, and I've been chasing this brother for well over a year. We've had some hiccups, but we've finally gotten here. This is a very busy man, and once we start going through this episode, you'll understand why. But I'm so happy today to have my good friend Kevin Wideman as my next guest. Welcome, Kevin.
Thanks a lot, Marlon. Hey, glad to finally get to be here.
Absolutely. All right, my man is from Atlantic City. I got to start with Atlantic City.
Born and raised, baby.
Temple. You say you were born and raised in Atlantic City. Tell me what was that? What was that?
Well, I was born, pre-casino area, so it was really a shore town. There is somewhat of a desolate, shore town, but it still was an inner city. And we had our inner city challenges. So I stayed there, grew up there to about when I was 12 years old, just going into junior high school. My mother was determined to get me out of the city before I had to go on to junior high school and then to high school. Like I said, we moved out in 75, right when the casinos started. So it started to change. But, we was doing inner city things. We weren't doing drugs or anything like that, but we were fighting, playing hooky from school and just mischievous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just getting into trouble.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What I call kid trouble.
Yeah, just a kid trouble. And I'll share a story with you. We were hustling. We would go to the grocery store and when people came out with their bags, because everybody walked, we would offer to carry their bags home. Or carry the bags to their car, and they give you a nickel, dime, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were working at a fruit stand, setting the fruit out, and then putting it back up at night. And somebody opened a fruit stand next to us, and they closed about a half hour before we did. And they had little wire windows up high.
Mm-hmm.
So one day, we decided they closed, they left. We got a bamboo stick. I got on my buddy's shoulders, and we started knocking down their fruit from inside. And then the cops drove by, and my friend saw the cops, so he ran, and I fell to the ground, twisted my ankle. I couldn't run. And that was the first time. That's a kid trouble, right? So cop took me down to the police station, and the chief there looked at me because my uncle worked there, and he said, "Hey, I know who you are. You Joyce's boy, aren't you?" He said, "You know what? Instead of locking you up, what I'm going to do is call your mother, have her come down here and pick you up." And part of my mind said, "Look, man, lock me up, man. Lock me up for with me, right? Because my mom comes down here to get me. I don't want to go back home, man." But so, it's things like that where my mom said, I got to get you out of here.
Sure.
So at that point at 12, we moved out to the suburbs, out to Pomona, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And that was about it.
So notice that when you went to Temple, you were an electrical engineer major.
Yeah.
So where from the shores of Atlantic City to the fruit stand did you find this love or interest in electrical engineering?
Well, growing up, and that was a sad thing about me getting in trouble. I always did well in school.
Mm,
And my teachers had always told my mom, because my teachers liked me, and they always said, well, Kevin's problem is he's kind of advanced, so he gets done his work,
mm,
and now he starts messing around with everybody else, right? Or just doing being immature.
sure.
But so I was good in math and I enjoyed science. So when you get in high school, you start looking at different curriculums and careers.
Mm-hmm.
And when they tell you, well, math and science, engineering is a good field. You look at what's the wave of the future, right? Well, engineering is going to be a wave of the future, and those will be the most highest paying jobs in the future, engineers.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I said, well, guess I want to be an engineer, right? I had no idea what an engineer did, but based on my aptitude for math and
Mm-hmm.
science
Mm-hmm.
and the wave of the future going into engineering, I said I wanted to be an engineer.
Sure. Sure. And you took that to Temple. Why Temple?
Well, because Temple wanted me
Sure.
more than anybody else wanted
Mm-hmm.
me. And I in the Big Five, when you're growing up in the city, we don't do college visits.
Yeah.
My mom was a single mom working, so we don't do what things kids now, right? They go all over the
Mm-hmm.
place, right? So we look at the local schools, and a really good guy that was 3 or 4 years older than me, Michael McNeil, somebody I looked up to. He was an engineer, and he went to Drexel.
Okay.
So Drexel had a good co-op program. They had a good engineering program. So I wanted to go to Drexel. And again, my immaturity, not being wise to this process at all. I applied to Drexel. I think I'm going to get in, right? Why wouldn't they take me, right? So
Right.
I go up,
Right.
I go up to the visit to Drexel, and they say, "Hey, we're sorry you didn't get in. Your SAT scores weren't high enough, but we're gonna put you on the wait list." So I leave there. Now I'm like, okay, now what? So I took
Wow.
all the big five schools, Temple, LaSalle,
Mm-hmm.
St. Joseph. I didn't even bother going. If I couldn't get into Drexel, I knew I wasn't getting into U of P, right?
Right.
So I applied to those schools. They all accepted me. St. Joe didn't have an engineering program, so I actually went to Temple, by default. There.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But it worked out for you.
Now it was a blessing. It was a blessing in disguise because
Sure.
um, it worked out, right? And I was ready for Temple, and I think, and to
Mm-hmm.
be honest with myself, Drexel had a more dip program was challenging, right? I wasn't sure if I was ready for that challenge yet. I'm sure I would
Sure.
have probably made it through okay.
Sure.
Drexel was just engineering, right? Just school, right? Temple had an engineering program, but they had a social program as well, right? So they,
Gotcha.
believe it or not, when I went to college, I was very, very shy and introverted. Um, right. When I tell people that, right, nobody believes that, right. But I was, but Temple's social scene at Temple allowed me to open up socially,
Sure.
and so the engineering program they mandated that you take other social skill type classes and programs,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
public speaking, public writing and things of that nature, such that you come out as a well-rounded professional, no matter how far you go in your engineering career. And as you know, so in engineering, when you take a technology branch, you get to a point where you decide, okay, I'm going to be a subject matter expert, super engineer, or I'm going to take the management track. And once I started doing engineering, I enjoyed it, but I realized that I didn't want to do that all my life, right? And so,
Got it.
right, but Temple prepared me with the business acumen, the management, the soft skills, so to speak, and help you develop those, such that I was able to make that transition into management.
Right. Right. So let's move into that because um, I'm talking about management. I mean, I guess we started right into it, and I didn't even tell my audience what you currently do. You're the CEO of Koniag Government Services, and you've been the CEO since 2018.
If you say it, then that's right.
But and the company, and this is according to the company. When you took over, you was probably is worth 230 million in revenue of the work that it was doing.
Now
As of
about 125.
125, and as of last count, you're well over 800 million
Yes, sir.
under your leadership.
Under the leadership of me and my team. right? But as a CEO, right, as a CEO, I came there. They were doing about 125 million in revenue,
Hmm.
maybe about 10 million, 11 million in net earnings. Last fiscal year, we closed at over 850 million in revenue and over 100 million dollars in net earnings.
But before we get to Koniag and what you're doing there, you and I are part of a organization called the 13th Man. We're both board members of this mentorship organization. And as part of that, you on one given Saturday, you gave a presentation to the young men on leadership. And I actually listened to it. But you said something very interesting about how you came upon this position at Koniag. Can you kind of elaborate how you came upon this position as a
Well, I really stumbled upon it. I was working for Alaska Native, another company. And again, we get back to the journey of how I got from an engineer to a CEO,
Mhm.
right? But prior to becoming a CEO, I was VP at another company. And we were looking for someone to partner with. So I went to a meeting with the BD person of Koniag. And she said, during the conversation, she said, "Hey, our CEO is retiring. We're looking for a CEO. You should apply for it."
Mhm.
And I thought, that's yeah, that's a maybe I should, right? Because I had was never a CEO before. I was a senior vice president, I was a COO, but I was never a CEO.
Mhm.
So I gave her, I gave her my resume, and at that moment I said, "This is my job," right? And,
Mhm.
and my boss now, who and I, we have really good relationship now. And I subsequently told him, I said, "Look, man, this was going to be my job." When he kept doing interviews, he kept saying, "Hey, if we decide to go forward, if we decide to go forward, these are the next steps." And I'm saying to myself, "Well, no, we're going forward, right? Yeah, we're going forward. It's going to be my job." And what happened was when I submitted my resume, they had already selected a candidate.
Yeah.
And then what happened was something fell through with that candidate. And I said that was destiny. And I told him afterwards, I said, that's why I knew it was my job, because I don't wish harm on anybody. And that candidate, I'm sure he would have done a good job in that role, but it was my job. And then we
Right.
went through the interview process. And so we got to the point where they wanted me to fly to Alaska. And again, my boss, he's still holding everything close to the vest. He says, "Hey, I want you to fly to Alaska and meet the team." Now, the company I worked for, their corporate headquarters was right across the street from Koniak's corporate headquarters in Alaska.
Wow.
Right. So I told him, I said, "Hey, Ron, man, let's do this. When I become your number one candidate, let me know, and then I'm going to fly to Alaska. Because if I fly
Wow.
to Alaska as your number two candidate, and Anchorage is a small town, right? If I
Yeah.
see somebody from my company's corporate, I have no business being in Alaska.
Wow. Okay.
There's nothing I could say there. But at least I know if I'm your number one candidate and they see me, okay, well, if I'm your number one candidate, I'm getting a job anyway, right at that point. Right.
Right.
So he went back to his drawing board. He came back and said, "Okay, you are number one candidate." Right. In my mind, I said, "Come on, Ryan. I knew I was your number one candidate all along." I don't know why he decided to play possum with me, man.
But you just had in your mind, like what you said is very enlightening to me. Like once you went after this opportunity, you knew it was yours. Like you just
Yeah,
believed
yeah,
it
no,
to
it
be
was it was
yours.
it was it was a job I coveted. And when I met with the board after I was hired, I told them the same thing. This is my job. I said I coveted this job. Didn't know anything about it before I knew it was available.
Sure.
But once I can, I say, you know what? I want to do this. Right? I'd never been a CEO before, and I wasn't sure how successful I was going to be. But what I told them during the interview, my first executive position with a company called Signal Corporation. Roger Modi was the CEO. Roger just passed away as well, and Cass Pansiaco was my mentor and boss at that job.
Hmm.
And what we had always said, nobody was going to outwork us, right? So if you just go in, let's just work hard, right? Let's
Hmm.
outwork everybody, right? Get up early before everybody gets started. Stay late after everybody was going to go home, and that's that work ethic that I said, I'm going to bring this to the job, right? I'm just going to come in and work hard and surround myself with good people and see what.
It's a couple of lessons that I get from that, and I want to just elaborate on a little bit. And the first to me is that where you were mentally in life, right? You went into that meeting going down one road. She puts in front of you
Yep.
this
Yep.
opportunity, and you just had the mindset to seize on an opportunity that you were not even expecting.
Absolutely right. Right. Totally out of left field. Right. Matter of fact, I didn't even know her. I met her for the first time. Her name is Kim Momoka as well, by the way. I
Mm-hmm.
met Kim for the first time at that meeting to
Okay.
talk about partnering with Koniag on some other business things going forward. And I left that meeting. And if you ask me about what opportunity it was we were talking about, I have no idea.
And I'm guessing that Kim probably had that in mind before you even walked through that door.
You know, knowing Kim, Kim is a hawk, right? Right.
Mm.
I'm sure she had it on her mind.
Yep.
Else, really, she would, she wouldn't have brought it up.
She wouldn't have
And
brought it up.
I didn't know she didn't know me, but she knew of me.
Sure.
And
Sure.
she was very good friends with another colleague of ours, and that's how we set the meeting up to begin with.
Sure. And the second thing, you seize the opportunity, but the second thing you also elaborate. You've never been the head, the CEO before. You've been in management. I think you was in management at least since 2000. At that point, for 20 years, you've
Right.
been
Yep.
at the management level, right? But you've
Yep.
never been the president, the CEO.
Yep.
So how did you know that you were ready for this?
See, that's the thing. I didn't know I was ready.
That's
Right.
what I
I
want
viewed
to
it
know.
as a next progression. And I share this with you, Marlon, because your podcast, we kicking ass and taking names, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first day I showed up, right, came in and say hi to everybody. They had the office painted, new furniture and everything in it. I sat down at that desk and I was like, "What you gonna do now?"
Yes, it's that moment, right?
Yeah. It's that moment. It's like that Richard Pryor skit, right? What you gonna do now? You didn't
Yeah.
drop your
Yep.
pistol when you jumped to the window, right? And what I told myself then, I said, look, man, let's just do what you always do, right? Work hard, right? Stay committed to yourself. And one of the things in this business, right? Stay true to your word,
Mm,
right? Work hard and stay true to your word. And I'll tell you, if you go around any circles, there's a lot of people know me. There's a lot of people say things about me, but no one would never say I've never been true to my word.
mm,
Right? I've never been a man of high business ethics. And when we grew up at Signal, I mean, we were the bad boys of IT back then,
mm-hmm.
but we were ethical people, right? We worked
Sure,
hard. We stayed we
sure.
stayed true. We stayed true to our word.
Yeah, and I think that's very important because Kevin, I think that gets lost sometimes in this business world. Is this attitude or this view of by any means necessary?
Right.
Burn bridges. You just burn bridges just to get to wherever you want, and
Absolutely right.
can't do that.
Now you can't because you burn a bridge to get to where you want. But now, once you get there, may need that same bridge to get you where you need to get to.
That's right.
And now
Right.
you done burn that bridge. And I
That's
always
right.
say, man, it's just so disappointing in business. Really in life, people choose to lie, right? People choose to be unethical, right? That's a choice that you make. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
makes that choice for you but you, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sit across from you and say, hey, if we close this deal, this is what your share is going to be. Well, we close the deal, I'm giving you a share, right? Too many times, anybody that's grew up working for small businesses, you've been on the flip side of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? You've been on the flip side, and I've always said that we're always going to do right by people. And you've
Mm-hmm.
asked any of our Koniag vendors, if you have, I challenge you to find one and say we haven't done right by them. Now, in
Mm-hmm.
their opinion, they may have gotten what they wanted to get, but we've never misled anybody. Now, on the flip side is now you have to perform as well, right? Now, we always
Sure.
challenge to perform, right? So if I say, you just go in this deal, let's do business together, well, I expect you to perform, but also perform at the same business ethics as we do, right? We partner with the company, and me and the CEO, we used to break bread on a monthly basis, and then he did some things that were, in my opinion, were unethical,
Okay.
right? So and I said, you know what? We don't do that. We just don't do that here. So you and
Okay.
I, we're not breaking bread anymore. And when
Mm,
this deal is up, we're not partnering on the deal. I walk away from a deal, walk away from a relationship, then stay with somebody that's just not doing things the right way.
sure. Sure. Because trust is very important.
Yeah.
Trust is very important.
And and you need to trust. I've had customers that I've been doing this now. I've been saying it for 30 years, but I've been saying that for 10 years. So now
Yeah, I'm about to tell you.
I've been doing this for over 30 years. Yeah, but now I'm doing this for approaching 40 years, and you have
Right.
customers, and the customers were the same thing, right? I'd like to do business with companies that represented by Kevin because I know they're going to be true partners with us, right? We
Hmm.
don't we don't make excuses, right?
Yeah.
We partner with your customers, and if you make a mistake, you say, you know what, we messed up. I'll make it right, right? But I'm going to own it. And nobody wants to own their mistakes, right? You know what? Everybody's not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes, okay?
Hmm.
So we made a mistake. Let's own it, correct it, and let's learn from it and move forward.
Sure. So it's two things I want to get into, and sweet, and also I want to get into your leadership style. But before that, let's get to the nitty gritty. You took the company from 125 million in revenue to over 800 million. So you scaled it up. How did you do that? I mean, whatever detail you want to share. How were you able to do that
No,
over
no, it's fine.
five, 6 years?
It's quite simple, right? And
Hmm.
and as simple as this. You said I took it from this to 825. And what as simple as things I said we took it,
Hmm.
right? So what I did was I surrounded myself with people that had the same entrepreneurial spirit that wanted to take their next step and grow. My chief growth officer, Carl Buffington, he was never chief growth officer before, right? And we all bet on ourselves, right?
Hmm.
Aisha McGill, she's my chief business operations officer, right? She was never at that level before. But you surround yourself with people that are hungry and want to work hard, and then you take your same philosophy to customers that know you,
Hmm.
right? And they want to do business with you. So you establish a reputation with your company as being a good partner, right? And helping their customers meet their mission at mission speed, right? Rapid speed. And it's a small world, right? If you do bad, people hear about it. If you do good, people hear about it. Oh, Kevin, Carl, and Aisha over here, I want to do business with them. And then also, so it's just not about me, right? So I track Carl, Aisha, Jennifer Roadcap comes over. Koniag had a great foundation there as well. We just wanted to grow it more aggressively, right? But then when you get good people to follow you, other good people will follow them,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So next you know, you have a tree that people here because of Jennifer, people here because of Carl, people here because of Aisha. Well, they're here
Hmm.
because of me, but you bring over good people, they bring over good people. Next thing you know, you have a formidable team that can pursue new business opportunities. And then you energize the folks that were already there that were looking to grow more aggressively as well. And you just start growing. Our goal was to get to 500 million at about now in about 8 years.
Wow. Okay.
And we hired a couple BD people, and they said, "Well, Kevin, I think we could get there sooner." That's okay. Well, we get there if we get there sooner. But we set that first strategy session. We laid out how we wanted to grow. And we said, okay, we can get here 500 million in about 8 years. Well, after about 2 years, we had to revisit that because we were at approaching 400 million at that point.
Okay.
And then that's what we said. We want to become a $1 billion organization, right?
Yeah.
So now we put the stake in the ground. We want to become $1 billion organization. And once you set a vision as a leader and articulate that vision, people begin to rally around that vision. And
Hmm.
we have this phrase here at Koniag. It's called sharing the catch,
Hmm.
right? So one of your leadership responsibilities is to make sure if I can't say is the we, and then I take the bag as a me, right? So we put some incentive comp programs in place where we share the wealth, right? We share the wealth. We have some very lucrative incentive comp programs in place that we reward people for excellence. And I use that term, right? We reward excellence. We recognize and reward excellence.
Hmm.
Now, the flip side is I say cognac isn't for everybody, right? So when
Sure.
I interview somebody, I say, hey, you go home, look in the mirror, right? And if you aren't as good as you say you are, as you think you are, then you probably don't want to come back tomorrow, right? Because you're not going to have a
Mm.
career here. But if you're willing to bet on yourself, and if you're as good as you say you are, then it's gonna be a great place for you because you're gonna work hard. It's gonna be fulfilling. We're a mission oriented company.
Yeah.
We have what we call shareholders, but there are native communities back in Kodiak Island of Alaska,
Hmm.
right? And so we're driven. Our mission is to provide dividends for them to maintain their way of life.
So one of the things, and so you kind of talked about the management team, but also under your leadership, your employees went from 350 to over 3,500, and
That,
and
that's
and
that's how
and
you
you were
did your
just
homework, man.
named.
You investigative reporter, man.
Yeah, man. I'm a lawyer, and then you're named top workplace in Virginia in 2025. So it's all about you attract the talent, and now y'all able to keep the talent, right? To build this organization, scale up this organization. What's the secret sauce in that? Because we talked about leadership and what you're doing with your leadership, but what is the secret sauce in attracting the employees to actually perform the work that needs to be done for your government clients?
And Marlon, that's one of the most simplest things that I just think that people overlook. Everybody always says people are our best assets,
Mm,
right? But did you treat them as your best assets,
okay.
right? And a lot of people don't. So we try to be an employee-centric culture, and that's one as
Mhm.
we were growing, right? Because when you're small, it's easy to do it, right?
Yeah.
But as you grow bigger, how do you maintain an employee-centric culture? Well, you demonstrate that through your actions to your employees. Um, And you say, what are some of the things you do? Well, a lot of times it's a lot of small things, right? So you show some level of appreciation. Um, every year we send all of our employees a holiday gift basket, right?
Mhm.
And you know when you add 300 employees, 300 baskets, a little easy to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So last year, we sent out over 3,000 gift baskets. Happy holidays. Put a little Koniag stuff in there and just show a level of appreciation for them. Now you
Mhm.
can take that investment in if you're a privately held company, and it started when we went through COVID, right? So everybody was investing money in holiday parties. So I was at the CEO forum, and they said, "Okay, we're not doing holiday parties. We know what are you going to do?" I said, "No, I'm gonna send out gift baskets to my employees. Take that same money, reallocate it towards gift baskets," and the employees liked it. So
Mhm.
then became a staple. So then we just kept doing it. Do you know every employee on their birthday, I send them electronic happy birthday card?
Oh,
Right, right. Now you got 3,000 employees, but about ten would respond back how meaningful that was, that I thought enough about them
sure.
to do that. Right.
Yeah.
One time we made a mistake. We changed payroll companies, and when the deadline to submit payroll changed, so we missed that deadline, and we were in jeopardy of missing payroll for about 200 or 300 employees.
Mm.
Now, I was at a previous place when that happened, and what they did was they just cut checks and sent them to the employees and didn't say anything. We was up because my CAO informed me of that maybe around 9, 10 o'clock at night. So I said, guys, we have to get in front of this. We have to own it,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So we sent out an email to those employees and said, hey, unfortunately, we made this mistake. We're working to try to get you direct deposit to you by Saturday instead of Friday. I said, if this causes you any level of hardship, let us know, and we'll try to work out to give you some advance pay. We'll work something out.
Sure.
Now, one employee responded, and he said, hey, you know what? I read this message at night, and I thought I woke up in the morning. I was hoping it was a dream that really didn't happen,
Mhm. Mm.
right? And he said, I'm coaching my son's AAU basketball team, and we're leaving Saturday to go. I need that money to take these kids and I'm mentoring to go. So
Mhm.
what I said, okay, well, don't worry about it. We'll figure out a way, and we figured out a way to support him in that effort, right? We had another employee come back and say, you know what? I'm good. I can make it through the weekend, but I appreciate you owning a mistake, right? Owning a
Yeah.
mistake and standing up. But so it's things like that, a series of things like that. But it really comes back to your core values. If you
Mm.
say employees are your best assets, how do you treat them? If you treat them as they're your best assets. Now, guess what? So now in our work world, you have Koniag employees at a site working customer site with employees from a different company,
Mm-hmm.
right? Different mission, different contract, different company. Well, when that contract comes up for renewal and I go to bid on that, and these employees, they hear our employees talking about how wonderful KGS is,
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting stymied on by their company, not treating them as not being a people first company. Where do you think they're going to go?
Simple, huh?
So yeah, it's just as
Yeah.
simple as that. Because what I tell our leadership team is it's not about us, right?
Sure.
What we bring to the table, I said, I'm not a Microsoft. We don't bring a product, right? So when I go into, if you're a customer, I come into your office and say, Marlon, you have a mission, you need people. I can get and retain the best and the brightest of the people. Treat them well, invest in them, so they invest in you, and they're going to help your critical mission. And it's simple as that.
Right.
If I can't do that, if I don't have employees, I'm going to sit in your office and say, hey, Marvin, I can't help you even mission. You want to go golf, or I can't. I'm going to have a high turnover rate and things of that nature.
Right.
But when you're in a services business, you have to understand that it's about the people that you attract and
Right.
retain, right?
Right. And the reality as well, Kevin, is that your employees speak to the stakeholders.
Right.
And they speak to, and if people got to know that sometimes. You hire people, you put them on, on site. If you're not treating your employees well, you got to be careful what they're saying to the stakeholders, and that may impact your opportunities
Right.
going
Right.
forward.
Absolutely right. If you outsource to me, you got a law firm, you need 10 paralegals. I get you 10 paralegals, right? They work for me, but they're supporting you.
Mm-hmm.
They're closer to you than they are to me. If they come to you, Mr. Griffith, this company's just not treating us right. We're going to leave. Well, before they leave, you're going to say, wait, let me go get a different company.
Yep.
Right. And that's really, is fundamentally, that's how the services business comes down to.
Sure.
Companies, we like to say, if you look at the website services companies and the value that they bring, but really we're in the people business.
Yes.
We're in the people business, dealing with people, encourage people and helping them grow and helping them want to stay. And that's how you get a high employee retention rate. Now, do we bat 1,000? No. You have some employees out there that thought they weren't
Of
treated
course.
fairly. But one of the things I try to ensure is that no matter what, that everybody's afforded due process.
Mm,
Right. You got to have people afford due process. Not everybody sometimes thinks they're doing greater than how they really are doing,
sure.
and nobody wants to be told that they aren't doing great. But everybody's not doing great. So one of the other things that I challenge our leadership, when you do performance evaluations, give people honest and open feedback. Right? Don't just tell them they're good just so it's easy for you. You don't have to write up anything else, right? Or you don't have to deal with any levels of confrontation, right?
Sure.
Nah, you have to give them that feedback because that helps them grow as well. If here it is, I think I'm doing good, right? And you don't tell me I'm not doing good. Well, how am I going to learn and grow from that, right?
Sure.
We institute a performance improvement plan. The I word is improvement, right? But if you don't tell them and don't encourage them, you're not helping them grow. If you're not helping them grow, then I
That's
think you're
right.
failing them as a leader.
Right. I mean, obviously, in those situations, sometimes the management is afraid to be "quote unquote" confrontational. But
Yep,
you don't have to be confrontational to be informative. It's
absolutely right.
how you go about saying it.
How you go about saying right. Sometimes people get afraid to tell somebody they don't walk on water. Well, everybody doesn't walk on water,
That's
right?
right.
And that's okay. You don't have to walk on water. That's okay. But if you want to grow, these are some of the areas. So anytime I would was up for a promotion, if I didn't get a promotion, I would go back and ask the person, well, what can I do better that would better situate me to get the next promotion?
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So I asked for that feedback. Now, if I didn't ask for it, would that person have told me? Probably not.
Mm,
And then I wouldn't have improved on those areas. Then I would have probably got passed over for subsequent promotions as well.
mhm. So let me ask you this: now that you've been the leader of the company in 2008 since 2018, what if anything have you done for your own personal development, leadership development?
I think is I've gotten well. One of the things I think that a lot of times leaders we don't do is we don't talk to our organization, right? So we don't talk to our people. So like Carl Buffington and he's our chief growth officer, right? And I said, Carl, if I'm doing something wrong, I don't need yes men around me, right? If I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing something wrong, talk to me and tell me, right? If you disagree with something I said, talk to me and tell me. It's okay to disagree. It's okay for me to be wrong, right? And Carl will say that. He say it's okay to be wrong. Sometimes people as leaders, they think it's not okay to be wrong. So
Mm.
when you make a mistake, you don't do anything to correct that mistake. And so I think it comes down to being more self-aware, right? And I think self-awareness is a key attribute of a leader because if you're not, because we have to continue to grow as well, right? So I have to
Sure.
grow and I have and
Absolutely.
I have to evolve. But I think focusing on self-awareness really, really helped me as we migrated from $125 million company to almost $1 billion organization.
Okay. Now, I want to transition to community. As I stated earlier in this podcast, you and I serve on the board of the 13th Man organization. So I know you personally from that. So I know your commitment to young people, particularly men of color, young men of color. Where did that come from, Kevin?
Probably for me growing up with a single mom. Growing up with a single mom, and my mom, she passed away a few years ago, but I didn't have a like I didn't have anybody to guide me from a male perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not only did I not have a father figure, right? I was the youngest of my mom's kids, and I had four sisters,
Uh,
right? So my oldest sister, she provided a beacon of guidance. She went to college, so I knew when I got out of high school I was supposed to go to college.
mm-hmm.
That's the only reason why I knew it. Right? They had 13th Man Leadership Academy. Mr. Kelly talked about that. So when you get to a certain point, a matter of fact, when Barack Obama was president, he challenged everybody to serve,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I said I've been serving all my life. So one of my passions was basketball. So I coached basketball for about 30 years growing up. And I called my
Okay.
basketball sons, right? So then they all started getting older and started growing up. And so now they no longer young sons. So I had two passions of community service. That's guiding young men, young minority men, and also have a passion for hunger and
Mm-hmm.
feeding people. One of the things I started a long time ago was I would give out. In fact, my young daughters were younger. I would give out 100 turkeys every year,
Mm-hmm.
and then I came out here when I moved out to Loudoun County. I joined an organization, a professional fraternity, and I said, guys, I'm giving out these 100 turkeys every year. Can we jointly do it? And then they start bringing in size. We do it 100. Last year, they gave away 400,
Wow.
baskets of different hungry families in
Mm-hmm.
the area.
Mm-hmm.
We also we work with Mobile Hope out in Loudoun County. And there's another food bank here in Leesburg, and I'm drawing a blank on the name, but I donate, and provide resources to help them as well. Because,
Okay.
when you grow up, I grew up hungry, right? So I grew
Yeah.
up now, and I grew up, we were hungry, but I knew mom, we had to make it payday to payday, right? So we were hungry on Tuesday, but we knew mom got paid on Friday. So we had to make it.
Right.
Some people are hungry on Monday and they don't have a Friday payday coming.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
So I just think, I just grew up, and that's just become a passion of mine as well. It's just feeding the hungry, man. Just any way you can.
Yeah. Oh, tell me about Next Generation Leadership Program.
So what we have at Koniag is, I believe that what I said earlier, if you employees are your best assets, and teach them to grow, then put your money where your mouth is, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
philosophy that I said, if it would be great for any new leadership opportunities that we come up, that we promote from within as opposed to hiring from outside.
Sure.
And so I said, well, why don't we create a program where we groom the next generation leaders of the organization, right? We teach them about leadership philosophy, how to manage fiscal programs, how to manage personnel, how to grow your business, all the things that we expect of them as a leader. It's a
Mm,
year long program, and I think this year we're in our fifth year of it.
mm.
We get about 30 employees that come into that program, and I would say so. This is our fifth year, so it's probably about 180 employees
Wow.
so far, and we just put nominations out. In the beginning, we had to pull people to get into it. Now we can't accept everybody that wants to get into it.
Yeah.
And 80% of the employees that have gone in there have got promoted into leadership positions within
Mm,
the company. And not that the leadership opportunities are limited to them, but when they go through this program and get armed with all the tools that our entire executive leadership team manages different courses, right? I do one
sure.
on leadership. I do one on presentation skills. Our CEO, Denise Bailey, she does one on human resources and managing people, right?
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people don't know how to interact with people from a leadership perspective.
Sure.
We have a CFO, Jeanette Morris. I mean, she does one on fiscal management. And having people understand something as simple as submit your timesheet, how that drives the revenue, right? We still have employees sometimes. It's been an Achilles heels of ours are negligent on submitting their timesheet sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
that has a domino effect on the whole fiscal solvency of the company.
Sure.
And
Sure.
then so we started doing that, and then we also in that leadership program is a formal program, and then we said, well, let's do something informal. We had these SME sessions for our entire employee population. Similar sessions, but not as hardly directly driven, but sessions
Mm-hmm.
for our employee population. And again, you continue to invest in your employees,
Mm-hmm.
they will grow. Now you have good leaders.
And the reality of it is that, and I'll say this for you. You're not saying this, Kevin. Is that obviously these leaders that you are helping nurture will one day go other places, and those places that they go as leaders become partners with your company,
Absolutely right.
and
Absolutely right. I say
that's how
right. Yep.
that is built.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Sometimes people out there looking for some magic pill or magic statement or some magic way to go from scale their business to go from X to Y. And listen to you, it comes back down to some of the simplest things: people, relationship, integrity.
Yeah. I always say, man, like life is very, very simple. Human beings make it difficult, make it complicated, right? And just like I tell the young men at the 13th Men at the Leadership Academy,
Mhm.
there's no secret sauce to being a good leader, right? You have a pinnacle of leadership. The bottom of it is people lead because they have to. Somebody hires you, you working at McDonald's, I'm the supervisor, you lead me because you have to. But the
Mhm.
pinnacle of leadership is people follow you because they trust you and they believe in you and they make a choice, right?
Mhm.
So if
Mhm.
you when somebody has a choice to leave and they stay, that's reflection of your
That's
leadership.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. All right, so I promise you, and your time is very valuable, and I truly appreciate um, you sharing your time with me and my audience. So we're at this point in the in my podcast where I ask my guests. I used to say, if there's three things, three pieces of advice you'll want to give to a business owner or to my audience, what would it be? But Kevin, you don't have to give three. You can give
Right.
two, or you give three.
Well, no, I would say any three I'm gonna give, I probably gave you already. But I would say
Exactly.
the audience, if y'all were paying attention, you would have probably got those three already.
Why did I
But
knew you were gonna say that?
but I would say the primary one is integrity, right? I mean, just be true to your word. When you grow up on the streets, you say your word is your bond.
Word is your bond.
Word,
Yeah.
word, word is your bond, right? And just be an honest person, right? I want to grow. I'm competitive. I'm a competitive person. I want to win just like anybody else. But I say do it honestly. And
Mm,
then I'll give you one quick example. A solicitation came out, and the government agency made a mistake. They wanted it to be this type of solicitation. They made a mistake and opened the door for us, right, to bid on it. And my proposal team, they say, hey, Mr. Wideman, they wanted it to go this way, but they made a mistake. They didn't check this box right? So we can bid on it now and force them to give us a contract. But I said, guys, you know what? But that's not what they wanted. So that's not fair. I say anything be fair. Have a fairness test. I said, guys, why are we going to force somebody to do something that they didn't want to do just because they made a mistake, right? I said that's business integrity, right? I said, so let's not do it. Let's pass on it, and let's send them a note, inform them of their mistakes so they can correct it and get the type of companies that they.
Yeah, that is that's rare in business.
Right, and it's funny. It's a shame, but that's rare, right? Because it shouldn't be. But
Yeah,
but it is, and I get it, right? Everybody wants to grow. You want to grow your business because you're feeding your family, you're feeding
sure.
other families based on growing your business. But I just say if you grow it the right way, you can sustain yourself, right? If you
Yeah,
grow it the wrong way, it's going to fall just as soon as it grew.
yeah.
And all it's just my personal opinion, right? I'm no expert here, and I don't claim to be an expert. I'm just sharing my journey and the things that helped me get to the point where I am now, and that's doing business that way.
Absolutely. Well, Kevin, doing business that way has helped grow a company to almost $1 billion. So I think my audience should listen to that piece of advice.
Yeah. I mean, if I was in the audience, I would.
My man, Mr. Wideman, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for joining my podcast, and I look forward to seeing you at the next board meeting, if not on the golf course.
Are you losing sleep at night, worrying about your legal exposure? Every business faces legal risks. The key is knowing what they are and how to best address them. That's where our legal risk assessment comes in. It's a 4-step proactive plan to uncover hidden threats, close legal gaps, and build a stronger legal foundation for your business. This isn't just about avoiding problems. It's about providing you with clarity, confidence, and control so you can continue to grow a stronger and more secure business. You're one step closer. Let's take that step together so you can sleep better at night. Schedule your legal risk assessment today. Thank you for listening to this episode of Kicking Ass and Taking Names, a business owner empowerment podcast. Remember, information is only as good as its application. So start making transformational changes to your business and life today. If you like the show, follow wherever you get your podcast. And if you are enjoying this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and leave a comment letting us know what you think and what you want me to talk about in a future episode. If your business needs a legal partner, contact us at www.glgdc.com. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next time.